Quite something, isn't it? How we think about success, aspiration.
Mm.
Sometimes it's the big office, the view. But then there's that three-pointed star.
Hmm.
Still holds a certain power.
Oh, absolutely. Iconic. And if that's something you've been looking at, well, things are shifting a bit in India.
Yeah, exactly. We were looking at some details you shared about Mercedes-Benz India and their plans for 2025.
That's right. Looks like they're adjusting their prices pretty significantly in some cases.
So if you're maybe dreaming about a new car or you're just interested in, the luxury market dynamics, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Yeah.
We want to get into why Mercedes is doing this, what it means for specific models, and maybe what it signals about, well, luxury and the economy in India overall.
Okay, let's jump in. The main news broke around May 9th, 2025.
Right.
And the headline is a price hike. Up to 3% across their entire Indian lineup.
Up to 3%. Now, that might not sound like a huge number initially, but on these kinds of cars,
Yeah.
I mean, the base price is already pretty high. That 3% adds up fast.
Oh, definitely. And the way they're rolling it out is interesting, too. It's not just one sudden jump.
Yeah, I saw that. It's sort of gradual.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Phased. First bit hits on June 1st, 2025.
Okay.
Then another 1.5% increase kicks in on September 1st.
I see.
Their official line is, it's to minimize the financial impact, give people time to plan.
Right. Minimize the impact,
Right.
or maybe just ease people into the full increase, soften the blow, perhaps.
Could be. Either way, the big question is, why now? Why the increase at all?
Yeah, what's driving this? It's not like the cost of coffee going up a bit.
Well, the reasons Mercedes-Benz India gave are pretty standard sounding, but significant. Rising input costs, inflation, higher operational expenses.
Okay, standard business talk. Let's break that down a bit. Input costs. That's the actual stuff they build the cars with, right?
Basically, yes.
Yeah.
Steel for the frame, the computer chips, which are hugely complex now, the leather, the paint, all those raw materials are getting more expensive.
Right. The fundamental building blocks.
And it's not just the materials. Think about getting those materials. Shipping costs have been volatile, logistics are more complex. That all adds up.
Okay, so materials, shipping. What about operational expenses?
That covers everything else needed to run the business. Energy for the factories, R&D for new tech, maybe even keeping the aircon running for the engineers designing the next S-Class.
Yeah, can't innovate if you're sweating. But seriously, the head of Mercedes-Benz India, Santosh Iyer, he put it quite clearly, said they've faced cost pressure for, the last 9 months, materials, commodities, logistics. He actually mentioned they'd absorbed these costs for a bit.
So this isn't entirely new pressure they've been holding off.
Seems like it. Suggests they've reached a point where they feel they have to pass some of it on, even for a premium brand.
It's always that balancing act, isn't it? Absorb costs to stay competitive or pass them on to protect profits. Looks like the scale's tipped.
So let's talk numbers, actual rupees.
Yeah.
How does this 3% translate? Do they give examples?
They did. For the GLC, which is, their best-selling SUV here,
Right, very popular.
expect an increase of around Rs 2 lakh.
2 lakh. Okay, that's noticeable. What about the really high end?
Well, for the Mercedes-Maybach S680, the increase could be up to Rs 9 lakh.
9 lakh, wow. That's more than the total cost of many other cars.
It really puts it in perspective. So the general range they indicated was between that 2 lakh and 9 lakh figure, model dependent, obviously.
And just to frame that, I mean, an A-Class starts around, 45 lakh?
Mm-hmm.
And a G-Wagon can be well over 3 crore. So even 1 or 2% is a chunk of change.
A very significant chunk.
But hang on, wasn't there something about, a way to avoid this immediate hit for people ready to buy soon?
Yes, exactly. There's a price protection offer.
Okay. How does that work?
If you book your car before December 31st, 2024, so by the end of this year,
Right.
you lock in the current price, even if your car delivery happens in 2025, after the hikes take effect.
Okay, that's pretty smart. It encourages people thinking about it to, commit sooner rather than later. Good for their end-of-year numbers, I bet.
Definitely a good incentive. Like you said, a bit of a nudge.
Now, this whole situation, it's not just Mercedes feeling the pinch, is it? This seems bigger.
Oh, absolutely not. This is definitely an industry-wide thing we're seeing.
Yeah, it feels like every few months another car maker announces something similar. And not just luxury brands either.
No, mainstream players, too. We've heard similar announcements from BMW, Audi, but also Maruti Suzuki, Hyundai.
Right, so what are the common threads there?
Pretty much the same factors we discussed for Mercedes. Global raw material costs, steel, aluminum, up maybe 10–15% globally. shipping issues lingering.
And currency exchange rates. That must play a part, especially for imports.
Big time. Especially the rupee versus the euro for a company like Mercedes. A weaker rupee makes imported parts more expensive instantly.
Plus the general background noise of inflation in India, right? Around 5–6% annually.
It all feeds into this pressure cooker situation for manufacturers.
Interesting. So with all this cost pressure and rising prices, how is the actual luxury car market doing in India? Is demand still sky high?
Well, that's where it gets a bit more nuanced. Growth has actually slowed down recently.
Slowed down from those really high double-digit numbers we saw before?
Yeah, the growth in FY25 was reported around 3.3%, reaching about 51,500 units. Still growth, but slower.
Okay, why do you think that is? Economic jitters?
Yeah.
Stock market wobbles?
Yeah.
Or just these constant price hikes making people pause?
Probably a mix of all those things. Economic uncertainty makes everyone a bit more cautious, even high net worth individuals. And yeah, multiple price increases might start to impact affordability or just sentiment.
Makes sense. Even if you can afford it, maybe you start thinking twice. But Mercedes is still leading the pack, right?
Oh, yes. They sold over 17,000 cars in 2023, comfortably ahead of BMW and Audi.
And didn't you mention something about their really expensive models doing particularly well?
Yeah, that's fascinating. The cars priced above Rs 1.5 crore, they make up about 25% of their sales. So demand at the very top end seems incredibly strong.
So the super rich are still buying the super luxury stuff, but maybe there are challenges lower down the range? Or supply issues?
Supply is definitely still a factor. They apparently have a backlog in around 3,000 vehicles.
Wow.
Especially for popular models like the GLA and GLC. Those global supply chain kinks are still being worked out, it seems.
Okay, so costs are up, prices are up, growth is slowing a bit, but the top end is strong and supply is still tight. It's a complex picture.
Very.
Now, let's switch gears slightly. What about electric? Mercedes has been really pushing EVs in India. How does this all fit with that?
Their EV push seems full steam ahead. They saw, get this, 84% growth in EV sales in the first part of 2024.
84%, that's huge.
It is. Around 800 units sold, making them the leader in the luxury EV space here. And they're not stopping. 3 new EVs planned for 2025.
Wow. They showcased some concepts recently too, didn't they?
Yeah, at the Farad Mobility Expo. The Maybach EQS SUV, an electric Maybach SUV, and the Concept CLA class, signaling their future direction pretty clearly.
Okay, so they're definitely betting big on electric. But what about people maybe not quite ready for full EV? Charging infrastructure concerns, range anxiety.
That's a really interesting part of their strategy. They're also actively evaluating hybrids for India.
Hybrids, okay, that makes sense as a kind of bridge technology.
Exactly, a stepping stone. Their VP of Sales and Marketing, Lance Bennett, basically said, look, we believe in EVs long-term, but we're open to hybrids. That's what the market needs right now.
Pragmatic. Acknowledging the reality on the ground in India.
It seems so, catering to different customer readiness levels.
So let's bring this back to you, the listener. If you were actually thinking about buying a Merc, what's the takeaway?
Well, the immediate thing is timing. If you're serious, booking before December 31st this year locks in the current price. That could save you quite a bit.
Right. Otherwise, you need to budget for that higher price tag come 2025.
Precisely. And they do push their financing options, Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. They talk about the total cost of ownership, trying to make the overall package appealing.
Yeah, looking beyond just the sticker price. But even if you're not in the market for a Mercedes, this whole situation, it tells a story, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It's a real-world example of how global economics, inflation, material costs, supply chains affects the price of things we buy, even luxury goods.
It's not just abstract economic news. It translates directly to consumer prices.
Mm-hmm.
And Mercedes isn't just passively accepting this. They're making strategic moves too, right? Like building more here.
Yes, localization is a big part of it. Building more cars and components in India helps them reduce the impact of, say, the rupee weakening against the euro. Less reliance on expensive imports.
Smart. Shows they're committed to India long term, despite the current headwinds. They seem confident in the market's potential.
Yeah, confidence in India's economy, the growth of that aspirational middle class, and that focus on the high-margin top-end cars, that also helps protect profitability when costs are rising.
Focus on the most profitable segments. Makes sense.
So it's a multi-pronged approach. Deal with costs, push EVs, consider hybrids, localize production, and lean into the high end.
Okay, so wrapping this up, the key takeaway is Mercedes-Benz India is raising prices in 2025.
Yep, driven by costs, inflation, part of a bigger industry trend.
But they're also playing a longer game, EVs, hybrids potentially, more local production, focusing on those very premium models.
Exactly.
For anyone looking to buy, there's a window to lock in current prices. For the rest of us, well, it's a fascinating glimpse into how global economics hits home, even at the luxury level.
Definitely. So thinking about all this, the rising costs, the shift towards electric, the change in definition of luxury, what do you think the future of just, personal cars or even just our idea of aspirational goods looks like in India?
Hmm, that's a big question. Lots to chew on there, as these economic tides keep shifting things around us.